In December of 2022, the world was forever changed with the introduction of the first generative AI that could be used by the public and the masses in the form of ChatGPT. There was a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation about what this great technology would do. However, at the same time, there was also some panic and fear because it could create a potential loss of job security and change the market as a whole in ways which people didn't think were possible. Will it actually create any, let's say, nightmarish scenarios people are thinking? Or will it actually help people and help businesses produce mass amounts of volume of work in a more efficient, proficient way? Well, we'll dive into that right now. Innovation is nothing new. And ultimately, it has been here since pretty much the start of mankind in a sense, because ultimately people have always tried to be able to create the most amount of volume of work by putting the least amount of effort into doing anything, which is why technology has been a great benefit to this cause in this sense. AI is no different from, example, the calculator, which came in 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago when people were doing calculations at a faster speed and they didn't have to, let's say, do the full mathematical equations and draw out or write out all the different numerical adages or subtractions that could possibly happen. Now, with the calculator, it sped things up and sped up the work and also allowed people to work in a more proficient manner. ChatGPT, in a sense, is nothing different than that. Ultimately, it allows people to create or be able to find a large amount of data in a matter of seconds and be able to compile all of that and create it into whether it be an essay, a research paper, or even something as quickly as an email and a response to an email. Ultimately, AI is also still very inefficient. Why? Because ultimately the technology is still very new, but it's growing at a very fast rate, especially with the United States and China getting into almost an arms race over this. That leaves the question, will people's job security be in trouble? There was a prediction from the World Economic Forum back in 2020 that 97 million jobs by the year 2025 would be created from AI. At the same time, it would take away 85 million jobs. The people who they believe would be hit the hardest would actually be new graduates around that time. And the reason being, ultimately, is because it's going to basically take away a bunch of entry-level jobs. ChatGPT can do an incredible amount of work, do what the intern work used to be. Essentially, find a lot of data, give it to the bosses, and explain why a company should go in a certain direction. ChatGPT can do that right now. And will this possibly be different going forward? More than likely, the landscape is going to change. So there is a realistic and reasonable sense that yes, job security could be under threat. However, will it really, take away everyone's jobs and everyone will be out of work? Here's what we do know. Companies like the AP are already switching over to having AI do a bunch of work for them. For example, they use their AI to create short lists of videos from the daily news and be able to create a short list on a certain topic or a certain event going on that they're covering. It used to be humans who would do that, and basically they would go ahead and just find out the videos, compile them, and put them into a short list, and then send it out to their various platforms. ChatGPT, AI is doing that right now for them. However, other companies are actually training their people to use the AI as they would use a calculator, for example. Why? Because many technologies, even today, are still faulty. And ChatGPT is no exception, nor is generative AI. It can still compile a lot of data and compile a lot of research information, but it cannot go out and basically always accurately pinpoint every single piece of information and be able to verify it, that's where the human comes in. Which is why ChatGPT is a good source at helping people compile a lot of data, but then the person still has to go out there and look at it and make sure it's verifiable. Which is why in the PR world and in the workforce in general, it only makes sense that people would have to just learn how to become proficient in ChatGPT or in a generative AI in general in order to get ahead of the learning curve. And once they can do this, you have a significant advantage over the rest of the field because you can complete more tasks in a more proficient and efficient manner, which makes you more valuable to both your company and ultimately even to yourself. So with that, that's my TED Talk and my take. Thank you.